So we're here today, custom WooCommerce for large travel agency, unlocking revenue and automating operations. Brett Stone is the director of Stone Digital, a custom web design and development agency. Starting as a freelancer in 2017, Brett has expanded the business into a full-fledged agency with a dedicated team. So please give a round of applause for Brett.
Thank you. And thank you, Will. First of all, can you hear me okay? Everything's okay? Great, good. Thank you all for being here, especially on the afternoon of the final day. Really appreciate all of you making it to this point and joining the talk. It's not the final session. I think it was going to be the final session, but it's the second last, so not as late as before. Really appreciate it. So some questions before we get started. Who has been here for the entire conference so far? Who's kind of lasted for most of the sessions? Okay, great. Well, thanks for making it. That's the title of the talk. So in this presentation, I'm going to go through our experience using customized WooCommerce with travel agency clients and how we were able to use it to kind of unlock new revenue for their websites and automate their operations in a significant way. So I guess this is kind of like a case study of hopefully an interesting project, a WooCommerce project. Given it's a WordCamp, I thought it would be cool to just talk about a project I think is pretty interesting for what we did with WordPress and WooCommerce, particularly because of the work we did with custom dev and WooCommerce. We were able to, add some new revenue, automate things. Next, I just have another few questions to get a feel for the room and the type of people here. Who has used WooCommerce in their projects or for their business so far? I imagine it's quite a lot. And who here is a developer of some kind that maybe has customized WooCommerce? Okay, great. It's not going to be overly technical, but just good to get a feel for the room. And let's see how the clicker goes. Great. So what we'll cover, I'll just do a bit of an intro, say hi. We'll then do a project overview, so talk about what we were actually doing, the clients, what their issues were, etc. Talk about why WooCommerce, do a bit of a feature demo, and the business benefits, etc. The talk just then from James was really great as well. I'm sure a lot of people here went to the talk with James. It was really top notch. Great stuff. So that was very motivating to listen to that and then, do this type of presentation. He's really doing great work with WooCommerce. So big shout out to James. That was a great presentation. He had some great points on why WooCommerce. So intro from me. Hi. Nice to see you all, and it's been great getting to know a lot of people at WordCamp. My last WordCamp was 2019, and that was my first one. And it's just amazing to think about how much things have changed for me as a developer and my journey with WordPress. I was still very much in the early stages of freelancing the last WordCamp, and things have kind of changed a lot. So we've got 9 team members now. That's a fairly recent development, the past year and a half, 2 years. I've kind of transformed the business from a freelancer operation to a team. And as mentioned there, we're a custom web agency. So we do custom web design and web development, all the way from kind of custom bespoke themes for marketing websites, all the way to pretty advanced e-commerce websites, which is what we're going to be talking about today. I'm also in business partnership with my wife, which is an interesting thing. And a lot of people think we're pretty crazy for doing that. I think they're not too wrong. But it's definitely got its difficulties, but at the same time, it's been the best thing ever. And big shout out to my business partner and wife who's in the crowd. Best thing ever for the business, and great to have you as a business partner. You might have seen here at WordCamp as well that we have brought along our baby, or 2-year-old son, not really a baby anymore. It's been amazing, very family-friendly conference. And I also learnt yesterday that WordCamp Asia and a lot of the kind of central WordCamp events, what is it? Key mark? Those key WordCamp events like in US and Europe, Asia, they have often... Flagship, that's right. They often have like daycare or like child-friendly rooms and things like that, and I'm just amazed. That is incredible. So I think Keaton, our son, might be joining a few WordCamps again in the future, and he's already really loved it here. It's been a lot of fun, and so you might have seen him around. So this is his first WordCamp, probably the youngest participant here. He didn't get a ticket. I hope that's okay. All right. Let's see the clicker. Great. So focus is custom web design and development, And yeah, we focus on custom WordPress, WooCommerce, and Shopify. So that's what we do. And wanted to also give a big shout out to our team. So we have a team of 9, 3 in Australia, 6 overseas, based in Nepal and the Philippines. And yeah, just really love our team and wanted to shout them out because it's really the core of how we've been able to achieve what we achieve. And yeah, just big shout out to them. And another, quick note that we're always hiring, and a key reason that we're here at WordCamp and why I want to speak and why we're sponsoring is because we always want to keep that recruitment pipeline open. So we're always interested in getting to know talented designers, developers, and project managers, especially as into the future, hopefully we continue to grow and do really awesome, interesting work. So just a little plug there about that. So on that topic, be sure to connect and keep in touch. So actually going to the main content for the presentation, I'm going to give a project overview, why we chose WooCommerce, feature demo, business benefits, etc. So project overview. So this discussion is about travel agencies that focus on tours and experiences. So think about kayaking with dolphins in Byron Bay, booking a multi-day surf camp somewhere on the East Coast, a multi-night Whitsunday boat trip, a 4-wheel drive multi-day adventure in Fraser Island. Those are the types of tours that our clients are trying to sell, and they sound a lot of fun, I'm sure, and hopefully some of you have tried them, and that's what they're trying to sell. So there's lots of different aspects of the travel industry, and I've been talking to some people here at WordCamp about that. There's accommodation, there's car rentals, etc. Our expertise that I'm talking about today is to do with this, but we've also had a lot of other exposure with tourism-related websites like tour operator websites, destination websites, pretty heavy, large blog websites that are all focused on affiliate revenue. So there's a lot of different types of websites within tourism, but this is about tours and experiences. Our clients have had decent traffic and existing business and customers to their website that they wanted to convert to more streamlined online transactions, which they weren't getting previously. So the crux of the issues that our clients were having is that they basically had inquiry forms and a very manual process for orders happening on their website. People would need to contact, leave an inquiry, an indicative date, and hopefully what you'll see today is that we kind of streamlined that and made it a much easier process, which has been very good for our clients, and hopefully a very interesting use case of how we've used WordPress custom development to do something interesting. So that gives a bit of an overview. I just included a few screenshots to kind of like really make it clear what they're doing. They're selling really cool tours and experiences, and the key is they want to sell all kinds of operators. So these are different businesses that are running these tours. This is obviously not the agency that's running the tours. They just want to list as many operators as possible. So just all kinds of Fraser Island, Queensland, Great Barrier Reef tours. So before I get into what we did and the improved process, I'll talk about the previous process. So as I said, it's mainly inquiry forms. So you would want to, let's say you were interested in going on a 4-wheel drive multi-day adventure on Fraser Island, you would have to complete this inquiry form and go, oh, I'm interested in going on a particular date. But then you don't know if that's going to be available. What's the pricing for that date? How many seats are available? Maybe you have a group of 5, but they only have 4 seats. There's a bit of back and forth and uncertainty here, unfortunately. We've also seen some websites use, I think it's a WooCommerce bookings plugin to add a calendar, and then they have to add the dates for that. But once again, it's very unlikely that's going to be up to date unless they're constantly updating it, which is obviously going to be very time intensive. That would not show live availability. It's basically just showing a bunch of dates for them to give an indicative date. And I've met agencies that do this, and they have to basically update availability every few hours, which is very time intensive and still prone to errors, unfortunately. So there's that option. There's also options where people can create their own kind of embed with popular software like Resdy and Fairharbor and other solutions. But then once again, they might have to update the availability for that. There's also kind of reseller options within popular platforms like Resdy. But then obviously that's limited to Resdy or operators on Resdy, etc. And our clients are trying to basically list as many operators as possible across various different platforms. And we'll get into that in a little bit. And another previous process, and there's a lot of old school travel agencies that do this, and they're happy to do it this way. They're just happy to just not worry about any inquiry forms or any automation, just pick up the phone, which is great, but I guess in 2024, there's a few businesses that want to do things a bit more automated. So yeah, I don't think that sounds like a lot of fun. But there's definitely old school agencies that do that. So yeah, there's multi-step process to it, submitted inquiry, a lot of back and forth. And luckily, yeah, I made this very rudimentary graphic. Had a really crazy week, very busy, so we didn't have time for me to send this to our designer. So yeah, a lot of pain points. So there's no live availability, which customers obviously, and I'm sure for us as customers, we want to have live availability and know if we could book for that particular date in January. There's risk of errors, and our customers that have come to us often have a list of bad experiences using that approach, where customers have given an indicative date and they think that's like locked in. They've booked flights, they've booked other things all around this inquiry form submission, which is not very ideal. And then how are you going to do interesting things like discounts, coupon codes, sales? Yeah, it's going to be pretty tricky. And of course, the time consuming. It could be, on the most streamlined end of it, it could be 10 minutes to consume the email, prepare it, wait for a response, and you're going to have a drop-off in conversion as well. On the extreme end, it's going to be hours of time. Okay, and our new process, luckily, is a whole lot simpler. I mean, I've simplified it as one step, but it's obviously, a few clicks. But yeah, hopefully a lot more streamlined. And this is a high-level overview of the process, and I'll do a demo in a little bit on a real website so you can see. But the idea is that there's a bunch of operators that are using travel software, travel booking software, like Resdy and FareHarbor, et cetera, and that's going into an aggregator. So that aggregator that we use here at Travel kind of has the necessary API access to pull availability and push bookings to all of these platforms, and then we're able to use that API from the aggregator so that our clients can access all the availability from a variety of different platforms and operators. And yeah, over the years, we've been basically the web development partner and expert of integrating Hero Travel on custom websites. So yeah, we've kind of built up an expertise in this area. It's definitely something we know really well. And yeah, we've partnered with them to implement this using their API, and we're their preferred kind of web development partner. I'll just see if there's anything I missed on that slide. Yeah, another key point is that API access for a lot of these travel booking software platforms, it's very tied down. If I just had a small, mom and pop agency that wanted to get API connection to these platforms, it's not really possible. It needs to be a big player that gets that API connection. So that's another important thing to do, and that's what the aggregator has done, helped get all those API connections. And I know that for some of these connections, it took them years of back and forth with the platforms. And some of the connections that the aggregator does is also like directly into operators' own custom system. So there might be a large operator that has lots of different tours that they do. They do quite a lot of bookings. So they've actually built their own booking system. And then the aggregator has actually had to feed into that, looking at custom database tables or looking at, basically custom database tables. Okay. So I think instead of showing screenshots, I could actually bring up a page and show you what's happening. So let's do that. And then fingers crossed, the demo goes well. Because you always think when there's a demo that, there might be some issue. So if I click escape, yes, good. And yeah, there's a great topic going on in the other room as well that I'll definitely be watching on recording. So this is one of the pages, and we click our Book Now button, and we are pulling up the live availability. And there is time for that to load, because what we are doing is loading that availability right away. So there's an API call we do for the calendar, and then there's also an API call we have to do for the fare type information. So the pricing for that particular date, the amount of seats for that particular date, and fare types. So imagine if there's a child ticket or a pensioner ticket, that's all going to be pulled from the date selected. And we are using, requests when that happens on the page. We did previously cache those requests so that it would be valid for an hour period, or it was even longer, I believe. But then we were still coming across issues because it was updating so quickly that it needed to be more recent. So we do actually kind of keep it up to date, and the API is able to handle that, oftentimes just a little bit slow. And we don't do a system of kind of like syncing availability from the aggregator to our website, because then it would be a little bit out of date. So and you could add multiple adults. And in this particular situation, we've got a variant option for the product as well, all being pulled from the aggregator. So the operator has set up this configuration that for this particular product, there's different add-ons, different pricing, and we're able to pull that from the system and display it here. So in this example, I'll just fill out a test order. And because of the way that these travel bookings work, we also have to start getting the customer details at add to cart. We couldn't just retrieve a single person's details at checkout and apply that to all the tickets, because of the way that the operators want to work and the way that the aggregator system wants to work. We really have to collect all the passenger details up front. So that's a requirement that fed into this. And then we'll just do this. And then, for example, we have to get age as well. And then you add to cart. And hopefully you can see there's a bit going on, like with, there's an open dated ticket as well. So then we're on cart, and then we can complete a checkout if we want to. So I think that should give a pretty good overview of how the system's working. And then we'll go back to here. Go back to my presenter view. Bear with me. It should be the first tab. You guys are the pros. Thank you. Okay. So we've gone through that, pulling live availability. So there's a bit that's going on with this, obviously. And thankfully, we have all this data in the API response. So we just have to, put it there and make sure we have some good logic to collect all this information and send it when we need to send. And the other key thing is that once an order is completed on the website, that will obviously be pushed to that central booking platform system. And then that will also be sent to the supplier. So I think I have some key points right here. By the way, I'm just thinking I could probably reference this, and then I'm not looking at the slides so much. Okay, great. So, back to this one. I think I've got to focus my mouse over here. And then we're good. Okay, so we saw live availability being demoed, up-to-date pricing, and we've got that add-on integration or the ability for variants within the product. We saw that, order sync, and another key thing which you can't really see is there's inventory update. So when there's an order on the website, the supplier, the operator is going to have that stock reduced for that particular date, which is key and great. Technical overview, so we obviously have that first API call to fetch the dates, second API call to get the fare types, the pricing for that date. We need to add the passenger details. There's also a draft booking created in the booking system when we add to cart, which is also a really great benefit for the travel agency, because they can actually see customer details that have added to cart and maybe haven't completed checkout. So all of our clients have kind of got the processes for abandoned cart because they've created the draft order but haven't completed it. So that's another great feature that they've really loved. So new process benefits. Customers book available time slots directly, obviously. Eliminates a lot of manual back and forth, which has been really amazing for our clients. It's a lot more automated revenue. And another key benefit is that we've been able to access core WooCommerce features. So things like coupons and sales, we didn't really have to worry too much about. We didn't have to develop that. It was just good to go out of the gate. And it's worked really well. And they've been able to access these core WooCommerce features as opposed to being restricted. So why we chose WooCommerce, and there was a great highlight from James in his presentation about this, which I think was amazing. Obviously, the customizability was really key, They wanted some pretty key checkout customizations, which we were able to do, and Shopify is a bit difficult with that. Also very content-focused websites, which you can imagine, because they want to maybe create a lot of content. There's also custom taxonomy that's often going on. So they have like destinations for their products and different types of content and taxonomy that they want to do. So that was one, and access to WooCommerce features. But really a key reason is that they're not allowed to use Shopify. So according to the Shopify payments terms, they don't want to have any travel-related businesses. And we actually had a client many, many years ago, even before COVID, that was listing on Shopify as a travel business, as a tour operator. And yeah, they totally just got shut down. And that was our first exposure to it. And we're like, okay, yeah, Shopify doesn't like travel. So that's an important one to think about. So there's a few reasons there. Oh yeah, got a separate slide for it. Now, sorry to interrupt, but I'm just going to try and get my presentation view back up. Presenter view. Sorry, guys. Some reason it disappeared. No, it's gone again.
Click on slideshow directly, not the drop out. Yep.
It's not appearing here, but that's fine. I'll make it work. All right, and maybe I'll try again later. Okay, so other option would be custom Laravel or a custom web app. It's not our expertise, but in the kind of assessment that we did as well, we did assess that it would be, require quite a bit more resources and a bit more effort. So that was one of the things. There's also a larger marketplace within WordPress if they stuck with it, and also the type of traffic and sales that they're doing. I think WordPress and WooCommerce can definitely handle. There's definitely a lot of like direct to consumer, very high volume e-commerce websites where I think, Shopify handles huge scale, but I think for this kind of scale, WordPress and WooCommerce is doing a great job. Off-the-shelf plugins, so would off-the-shelf plugins work? Definitely not, because everything was so custom for this. And we've had multiple clients use our integration for this, and each of them requires different adjustments to that. And on top of that, we're often just redoing their entire website or developing their entire website. So it's all kind of bespoke. They have different requirements for their CRM, different connections. So it would be difficult, pretty much impossible to do something that would be reusable because it's also customized. But nonetheless, this integration that we've built is definitely it's something we've reused across multiple clients, and we've really refined the code base, and it's been able to be reused in some ways with customizations. And just a bit of a backstory in case it's useful. So how we ended up having this particular niche or doing this work. So early on in my freelance career, I just basically took on a travel agency project where this was a requirement. I did it for a super low fee, really kind of, took a bite larger than what I could really chew, and I learned a lot. So I took on a big project, and I think maybe a lot of freelancers know this experience and really learned a lot from the project. And that kind of became a niche. It was one of the early custom websites for that aggregated platform. So I've been working with them for quite a few years, and that kind of kicked off the partnership with that platform, and we've been working together ever since. And so that's kind of how it all started, which I think people might find interesting. So, conclusion. Hopefully, some of you have found this to be quite an interesting case study of, how WordPress and WooCommerce is being used in the wild, and how it was able to have a pretty tangible impact for these businesses to basically unlock new revenue and automate a lot of things within their business. So hopefully you found it interesting too. And thanks a lot for your time. Feel free to connect. It's been really great meeting a lot of you at WordCamp, and look forward to meeting a lot of you at future WordCamps as well, such as WordCamp Brisbane and other ones. But really thanks for your time, and thanks for making it to the second last session at WordCamp, and happy to go into questions and discussions.
Thank you very much, Brett. That was really interesting. I did not know that, what was it, Shopify?
Yeah.
That they don't like travel agents? I had no idea about that. I don't know why. I'm sure there's some reason. But I'm a huge fan of APIs. I'm a huge fan of automation, and that was spot on for me. I loved that talk. So, question. Anyone with a question?
Oh, the microphone.
This is our youngest volunteer here. We like to start them young. So, Brett, a couple of questions for you. It's a two-part one. The first one is, how are you feeding back to the API? Are you leveraging the WooCommerce REST API and then feeding that back to the aggregator in terms of like doing the other direction and booking it and locking out what's available on the operators? And the second question is, how are your customers making their money? Are they just adding like a fee on top of what is coming from the aggregator? So if it says that this is $100 coming from the aggregator, they're then charging in WooCommerce a fixed amount on top of that? Or like, how is it monetized from their end?
Yeah, really interesting questions. And there's definitely some particular ways that like the billing and the charging works for these agencies that'll be interesting to go over. So on the first topic, how it's being sent into the aggregator like after they complete an order. So there's just a hook after a successful completion of an order that we send an API request. So we're using, I think, some kind of hook after completion to send that API request that the booking was complete. And so we basically create a draft booking when they add to cart, and then we just finalize that booking once they complete the checkout. So that's what we do about finalizing the booking. And on the second question, so about the payments, so how these travel agencies earn money is that for a sale, there'll be a certain amount of commission attached to it. Maybe as a generalization, maybe 10% of the sale. So an operator might have a particular price, like $100, that they sell their tour for in the market. And for any agencies that sell that tour, the agencies will get a 10% commission. Obviously, that will change depending on the particular situations. So that's broadly how the agency makes the money. And I think how the industry in general works, that if an agency's getting an operator a sale, there'll be a commission. Similar to a lot of other agency parts of the economy that have commissions on sales. Now, there's one other interesting point I was going to say. Yeah, so the other interesting point is that through the aggregator and the customization that we've done, they've been able to really do custom prices. So they can discount their price, eat into their commission. Sometimes they're having really low commission or near zero, but they're able to do that through our customization, which might be very difficult in alternative scenarios. So that's a key feature that they really like. And if they wanted to, they could charge a little bit more. They can have coupon codes. So that's been a really good feature that they've enjoyed. Yeah. Yeah.
You said that you obviously dealt with stock management, but are you doing anything regarding the item being put into the cart and putting it on hold with the aggregator?
No, not really, because
And that
the
hasn't been
aggregator
a
will just
problem?
handle that. So when we create a draft booking, that's not going to update the inventory for the operator. It's only going to update once they complete a booking. And so that it'll happen when the booking is completed. And yeah, there hasn't been any issue where there's been maybe bookings completed at around the same time where there's been an issue with inventory. I think the aggregator handles that pretty well. And in fact, there's a lot of products such as a lot of the Whitsunday boat tours where people are really trying to get that last ticket available, and it's going pretty quick. And it's been able to handle it no problem.
Yeah,
So,
that's great.
Yeah. The great thing is that this integration is, it's going really well and really smooth. There's lots of orders happening across the different websites that we have it, and it just seems to be ticking along. Yeah.
Thanks, Brett. That was a great talk. That was really fascinating insight into all the different things that are involved there. I've only like tangentially done some travel stuff, so it's all been like embeds and stuff, which haven't had to worry about all that. So it was really good
A lot easier,
insights.
for sure. Less hassle. Yeah.
Speaking as a nerdy developer here, I'm curious to know if you're able to go into like some insights into what custom endpoints you had to make for WooCommerce. Because I've tried to use the WooCommerce REST API a few times and it's not the easiest thing to deal with. So I'm curious to know what custom stuff that you guys had to implement.
Yeah, and I think maybe you would have seen from the slide that we did make custom endpoints. It's not something I've jumped into a lot recently with the team, doing a great job with that. But I do know we did set up custom endpoints. So for all those key API points, like getting the availability, getting the pricing, and obviously that way the actual API requests are happening on the server side, and we're just really sending the product ID. So we use the product ID and then send our requests, and we get all the data. So far, I think the team, is having an okay time using the custom endpoints. That's all I could really say about it. I think it's going all right. The other alternative would have been just like Ajax requests, right? Or, you've had a bad experience with endpoints, is that right?
Oh, just it's not the easiest API I've ever dealt with.
Yeah.
So it didn't quite do all the things I wanted it to do. So I was just curious to see what, you guys have come up with.
So far, so good. But I think definitely, and the, what was I going to say? Like we've had this integration for quite a few years now, and there's often been like a few quick kind of fixes and add-ons that we did over time. And I think a big focus that we have now is just kind of like cleaning up the code base. And maybe as a part of that, we might look at the custom endpoint. Yeah.
Hey, Brett. Thanks a lot for the presentation. It was really, really good. You highlighted the benefits of WooCommerce. I was wondering, what are the drawbacks or frustrations you faced? Or were there none?
Yeah, I think, let me just have a think about that. Because I think overall it's been a great experience. Especially with this traffic and the size, it's no problem. I mean, there was a talk yesterday, obviously, about the limitations of the database, but I feel this website is doing fine with the database and the speed and things like that. Of course, we could always improve it, and that's a big thing we're always looking to do. Drawbacks, let me think. No, I think overall it's been a good experience. I think if I were to think about trying to do this in Shopify, if it were possible, I think overall we would have had a better experience using WooCommerce because of the reasons that I outlined. There's it's a very content-heavy website that they want to do, a lot of customization on the checkout, etc. So, I can't think of many drawbacks. I think it's been a good fit for it. Yeah.
And for traditional businesses, I know that tax setup is always like a real pain point in WooCommerce. But I assume in your case, the tax, you get all that data from the API. You don't have to do any calculations on your end, right?
Did you say the text?
Tax, VAT.
Oh, okay. Tax.
Sorry, I'm
Tax.
German.
Yeah, VAT.
Steuern.
Yeah. GST, tax. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I haven't had to worry about tax at all. So yeah, WooCommerce has obviously helped with that. I'm sure Shopify would help with that. It's just been, we haven't had to use much of our effort or resources to think about some of those questions. While if we did kind of do Laravel or a custom web app approach, we'd have to be thinking about all of those things and probably refine the code base, etc. Coupon codes, sales, tax. But yeah, we haven't had to worry about tax because it's just kind of worked as expected. We've kind of set the custom pricing based on the API calls, and it's setting the right tax. We obviously don't have to worry about shipping. So those core features have been really key so that we can focus on what's important, which is getting the live availability and pushing the orders to the system. And that's been working well. And the API has changed over the years. They've kind of got different platforms on board, so they have to change the structure of the responses, etc., or add extra data. And yeah, we've kind of had to change our features because of that. And yeah, that's what we've been able to focus on. And luckily with WooCommerce, that's what we stay focused on. We don't have to worry about building these low-level features, which you might have to do with Laravel, etc. So that's what I'd say on that.
Thanks a lot. It was really great talk. And it's really impressive what you guys achieved, actually. I was super surprised, and it's great. And kind of curious, going back to what you were saying about the fact that it's kind of unusual the way you guys used it, was the client also surprised when you offered this solution? And did they just welcome it, or did they try to push back? Or what about you guys? Did it take you long to look into different options, or was it pretty quick that you took the decision?
In terms of the decision to do this integration, right, compared to alternatives?
Exactly.
Yeah.
In WooCommerce.
Yeah, okay, choosing WooCommerce. Yeah, well, it was made easy to choose WooCommerce because it's not, it's restricted on Shopify. And yeah, I've had lots of conversations with stakeholders in, or businesses within tourism or travel that aren't aware that Shopify has that restriction. And there's lots of agencies that I think, and freelancers that aren't probably aware of that restriction. But we've seen it firsthand. We've seen a business that's on Shopify and they got shut down. And if you were in the talk with James, that is kind of a key risk that happens with Shopify sometimes. If there's a legal dispute or they're worried about the type of website or business that you have, they can just totally shut it down and you have little control. So WooCommerce was a good bet. And in terms of like making the decision on this approach as well, like this integration, yeah, like this aggregator platform is very well known in the industry. There was a slightly different player that did the same thing, I think pre-COVID, but then there was like a lot of drama after COVID with refunds and things like that. So I think this aggregator has really come up. But yeah, there used to be kind of 2 players in the market, but I think this one is kind of the main one now, and we're glad that we're specialists in it and do custom work for it. Yeah. Yeah.
This is the last question.
Oh, great.
Thank you. Lucky last. Just wondering, have you had to or tried enabling that high performance auto storage thing on WooCommerce, and did that make any difference to performance?
Yeah, pretty sure we have that active, and we have that active in a few other high traffic WooCommerce sites that we're working on, which are also, I think, suitable choices for using WooCommerce. And yeah, I think we're having a good experience. Yeah, I feel overall the performance that we're able to achieve with these relatively busy WooCommerce stores is going great. Sure, there's some big tables, but with a decent hosting, it's doing all right. So yeah, we've got high performance turned on, and I think it's going well. And yeah, I think it's a great improvement. But yeah. All right. That's all right. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Put your hands together for Brett.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Excellent talk. Great questions as well. Thanks so much. Just want to remind you, Brett's going to be available in the hallway for a little while.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, in the hallway for some questions if you've got some specific questions.